Welcome to the Jacksonville Momcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the real stories of local Jacksonville moms. Sponsored by Jacksonville Beach Moms, each month we'll cover topics to help you navigate mom life on the First Coast. Thanks for joining us as we tackle all things motherhood and more with a focus on the 904. Our guest today is Meghan Storck, and Meghan is a Jacksonville mom and the mom behind Castaway Hat Company. So Meghan, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm a Florida native, proud Florida native, Northeast Florida my whole life. I grew up in Palatka and I moved to the area to go to college and I kind of just fell in love. So after I graduated from UNF, I stayed and I met my husband a couple years later and we had 2 kids and here we are.
That's so great. And so let's talk about Castaway Hat Company and tell us just a little bit about your business.
So we started Castaway, I say we, it's a small group of us. It was in the making, the end of 2021. And I've always worn something for sun protection. Growing up in Florida, I was very active on the water, whether we were at the beach or in Palatka on the river and wakeboarding and stuff. And I've always worn something and they really never lasted. And so being a mom and I needed throw in COVID, I needed something a little different. And I was like, I think we can make these a little better. We can make them a little more fun. And it kind of grew. It grew from there.
And I think we do so many interviews with moms that are just hit a transition point and that's where their business is born and they all do so well. So that's so great to hear. So
that's exactly right.
You mentioned sun protection and, how that was something that was important in your life. And I know people are listening on the audio and don't see the video, but you and I are both very fair with that light hair and that light skin. Yeah. So I totally can relate to that. But what drew you to hats? Like what kind of made you think, oh, let's make hats? Like that just to me, I don't know, like I always wear a hat, but I also have a rash guard on.
There's so much. I just really got tired of mine falling apart. When it came down to it every year, I probably for the last 5 years, I really wore something straw. I just kind of liked it and thought it was cute and somewhat fashionable for being on the beach and boating and everything. And they just didn't last. And a lot of times it would specifically say, don't get wet. And it would drive me crazy because I'm like, I'm wearing this outside. I'm wearing this to the beach or hiking or on the boat. But guess what? It shouldn't get wet. So I thought, can we make these a little bit stronger, a little bit more durable, and just make them better?
And so other than being stronger and a little more durable, what makes your hats special? Because there are a lot of hats on the market, but what kind of sets Castaway apart from the rest?
The biggest thing that sets us apart, because you're right, there are so many hats. You can buy hats anywhere. You can probably go get one at Walgreens if you wanted to. And they are well made, but we are doing a pound of ocean cleanup for every hat that we sell. And literally today we just hit 400 and I need to go run our numbers again because I think we're closer to 500. So we're really excited about that.
And one of the things I love about your hats is all the great patterns. So do you design the patterns or how do you kind of pick and choose what goes with your hats?
I wish I had a really cool answer for this, but sometimes something just hits us. The very first one, Alamorada, that print was kind of inspired by the Florida Keys. So we love the Florida Keys and Alamorada is our favorite Florida key. And we just wanted something colorful, kind of palmy that, felt like the Florida Keys. So we played around with a lot of stuff and we came up with that. And each one has just kind of been something that inspires us. The Americana, we wanted something red, white, and blue, but we wanted it to be fun. All of our prints are they're fun. We have one that's called the low key if you don't want any print at all. But flamingos, my daughter is just obsessed that she calls them mingos. So the Mingo print was born. So we've just tried to have fun with everything. Nothing's really off limits, something that interests us, or we might see something somewhere, but they're usually inspired by a place or a thing that really kind of shines to us.
And you guys sell not just adult hats, but you also sell kid sizes. And then you also sell dog accessories. So the whole family can match.
The whole family can match. I'm so glad you said kids hats. So that was a very big thing that sets us apart too. It's hard to find kids straw hats, and it's really hard to find them that match. And if they do, they're usually mommy and me. There's not something that the dads can wear. So when Castaway was born, we definitely wanted to hit that. That's something dads could wear, the whole family could wear. And we have my third, but really it's my first child, is our dog Sebastian, who's also our chief mood booster, and he makes deliveries with us and has fun. But the collars kind of came from that. We're like, we want the whole family to be able to match. You can go to the beach or go on a walk, go hiking, and stay protected and look pretty cute too.
I love it. I love having the dog accessories that can match your hat. I think that that's
and it could be
something
a cat. I had a friend that used to walk her cat, so the kitties want it, they could wear it too.
So you mentioned your pound of trash for every hat you sell. Tell us a little bit about how that works and what made you decide to kind of build a commitment like this into your business.
So that came pretty easy. And really before we decided hats would be it, I knew I wanted to give back. I wanted to be part of the business model. That was I knew that. When it came to water, part of it, I guess, is being a Florida girl. And I really believe at Castaway, we say, like, if you have a healthy passion, whatever it is, it makes you a better human in all aspects, whether a mom, a friend, a wife. So part of that to me was just like the water, and sports also, but it kept me like, doing something healthy with my life, my whole life. Sometimes when I have a bad day now, I still just want to go to the ocean or sit by the river. So we wanted to clean it up. There's a lot of reasons, but for our kids and for generations to come, and especially the wildlife, going back to Islamorada, we visited the Sea Turtle Hospital last summer, actually before summer. And what some of the plastic does for animals is really sad. I always thought it was just, they eat it and they might choke, but for turtles in particular, when they have plastic in their body, they float. They can't dive for their food. So it was just kind of a no-brainer a way we could give back and help our communities and our families.
And I think it's such a great partnership for a Jacksonville company because we have water everywhere, the ocean and the rivers. And the marsh, and we just have so much water. So I think that's such a great commitment for a Jacksonville business.
Thank you.
So as a mom, what are some ways you get your kids involved in giving back? Are they involved in the business, involved in the, cleanup?
They are involved in the cleanup. So one thing we do, and we do not count this because I went on to say a minute ago, when we do the cleanup, we partner with the company so we know what we donate cleans up a pound, which if Beaches Go Green is listening, we eventually want to bring that hyper local. It's just something we have to build on, but they definitely help in cleanup. So when we go to the beach, and everyone can do this, we always say we want to clean up a little more than we bring. So when we leave with our buckets or whatever, make it easier, your beach bag, we clean up something, obviously our stuff, but we clean up stuff that isn't ours. And they know what happens if we leave stuff out and what could happen to animals. So they 3.5 and 5, you'll see a piece of trash and like a turtle could eat that or a squirrel could eat that. So they're definitely very involved in cleanup. We're still working on giving back with toys and things. I think we're like any family. If they see a pile, they haven't played with it, and then all of a sudden they want everything. But when it comes to the environment, they're fully involved.
That's fantastic. I think that's such an important lesson to teach our kids, especially those of us that frequent the beach or frequent the parks around here, the outdoors. Yes. Jacksonville has so many great outdoor spaces, and it just is such an easy way from, like you said, your kids are so young, to get them involved, to be stewards of the environment at such a young age. So let's talk about launching Castaway. You said you launched it in 2021, and what are some things you've learned along the way?
Oh, that's a great question. We have learned everything. I have a marketing background, and I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit, but there is so much with your own company. You learn the basics of, an LLC and taxes and everything. So everything, and with COVID, I've learned a lot more about shipping than I expected to, when, getting things in and shipping out and making sure you do things in a timely manner so someone gets the product in the time that they need it. So we're learning a little bit of everything as we go. But I've always been a learner by doing. So just jumped right in and learn.
And so what are some tips you might give other moms that would want to launch a clothing or accessory type brand?
I would say reach out to other area moms and moms that have businesses. One of the best ways I learned, one of our good friends owns Wild Child Hat Company. It's a different kind of hat, but she just helped and shared everything from places to go on for wholesale to girl, just do it. You're gonna learn as you go. And the support, our community has a lot of that. So I would just reach out if anyone ever wanted to just literally reach out to me and ping me on Instagram. My information's on the website. I think just reaching out and asking those questions to fellow, especially moms who get it, because our brains work a little bit differently. But when you put it in business, it's a really big perk.
And I think what you said is so important with reaching out to other mom business owners, because I do think there is a fundamental difference in being a mom and running a business. And I think other moms can not only appreciate that, but they may have some of those tips to, how do you pack a bunch of orders when you need to take care of your children at the same time?
Yes. Yep.
And not just business lessons, but also, that balance, finding that balance.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely something you're learning constantly.
Absolutely. And as your kids get older, it just changes. Like as soon as you think you have it figured out, somebody gives up a nap or somebody needs to be driven around, or, it's a constantly evolving process. So we talked about your dog and cat collars. Are there any plans for any other accessories or any other products at this point? Or are you just kind of focusing on what you got?
We're really excited. So we have literally in the next 3 weeks, they're already in production. We have 2 new prints coming out. And in both of those, we're calling it the Big Head Edition. This is also after our dog Sebastian. He has a really big head, but a lot of people have either a bigger head or a lot of hair, and there's not a bigger size in usually a straw. It's kind of one hat fits most. So we're really excited for that. And we have a new visor coming out. So you're literally the first person to hear this. We have straw visors. So if you want to wear a bun or maybe a big hat is just not for you, there's straw visors coming out.
Oh, I love that. As someone who always has their hair up, I love a good visor. That's fantastic. So this will probably do very well. And so let's talk about your fundraising program you offer for schools and for other organizations. I am a PTA mom. I have been for 1,000 years. I've done a lot of fundraising, so I'm very excited to hear about this. So you offer a program for schools and other organizations that can sell your hats and raise money as a fundraiser. So talk to us a little bit about how that works and what, there's not a lot of clothing brands or companies like yours that do stuff like that. So what kind of led you to make a decision to incorporate that?
Growing up, I was always selling something. The chocolate bars, it didn't matter. Like our family was always doing something for either youth group or it was softball. And I just kind of felt like, what other way can Castaway give back? So when we looked at everything, it was really about putting our money where our mouth is. Like we're saying, we're about community and we're about family and we want to do this. What else can we do? So it's basically, it's like our wholesale model. It's just that instead of a business making the money, the school or the sport or whatever organization receives the money. So it's really not any crazy plan. It's just like putting it back a different way in the community. We did it with one of our schools recently, and they did really well. The margin for them to make money is a lot greater, and it's something everyone needs in this area specifically.
And I think it would do really well, especially at some of our beach schools. Like I think that
I agree.
There's definitely a population that would really embrace both a locally owned and made product, as well as, like you said, a fundraiser that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And they can, all of our prints work, but if any school organization wanted to do a custom one, we only have to do 150 and it could be a custom logo. So if it wanted to be your school or your PTA or your team, and that's really not that many when you think, how big a school is or when you get aunts and uncles and other people involved.
I love that idea of a custom print. So where can people find your hats?
So our website, castawayhatco.com, everything is there. If you want to shop on Instagram or anything and you see something you like, it's always back to our website. And then we have some local shops carrying them. Jacksonville, I'm still waiting. We have 2 places that should be carrying them soon. But in St. Augustine, the Pink Pineapple Boutique is carrying, and Mangrove Surf Shop. Devil's Elbow, and then in Palatka, the Country Feed store, and then also the Lemon Street Mercantile. So you can go into a shop and buy them if you don't want to wait on shipping.
That's great. And is shipping pretty quick because are you shipping them from like your garage?
Yeah, it's really quick. Yeah, a lot of times if it's local, it's 2 days. It's quick.
Perfect. And so what's your favorite thing about being a mom in Jacksonville?
Oh, goodness. I just think we're so lucky because even as much as Jacksonville's grown, it's still not known the way a lot of other places are. So you can always go to an awesome park or the beach, and it's still so, especially a beach mom, it's still so close knit. So I think I don't really go outside of a 5-mile radius unless I have to, from Jacksonville Beach to Atlantic, that's it. And for growing up in a small town, it still feels small. And I love that.
I think that's such a good answer. And is there anything else you'd like to add before we close it out for today?
No, I think that is it. I think you've covered anything. If anybody does want to purchase a hat, we will do a free shipping. So just use the code Jax Beach Moms, and that is free shipping.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to share that in our show notes and on our social media. So thank you for that. Well, thank you so much to Meghan Storck from Castaway Hat Company. We will put links to Castaway as well as some of the other resources we talked about in our show notes. And thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode of Jacksonville Momcast, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow us at Jacksonville Momcast on all the social medias for show updates and more information about our guests. To learn more about what you heard today, visit our show notes at jacksonvillemomcast.com. Thanks for listening.